Hey there, and welcome. If you're tuning into this explainer right now, chances are you are thinking pretty hard about your teenager's future. Specifically, you're probably wondering how to really set them up for success by summer 2026. Well, today, we're unpacking something incredibly unique, the Excel Academy CEO Skills and Self-Leadership Program. We are going to dive deep into the exact framework that's actively transforming students into the visionary problem solvers the modern world literally desperately needs.
Look, we all know the world is changing at breakneck speed. And honestly, the anxiety you might be feeling about your teen's future is totally valid, because traditional academics alone are simply no longer a guaranteed ticket to success. I mean, we've all seen it, right? The straight-A student who completely freezes when they have to communicate their ideas in a room, or the recent grad who just kind of panics when a project requires them to pivot. The landscape has fundamentally shifted, and the metrics for real-world survival have evolved far, far beyond the four walls of a classroom. And this highlights the massive shift we absolutely have to make. We need to move beyond mere exam scores and start actively cultivating visionary, resilient young adults. Think about the difference here. Traditional A through C grades are heavily focused on passive, standardized learning. But future-ready skills? That is all about becoming thinkers, leaders, designers, and real problem solvers. It's about adaptability. Summer 2026 is generally the perfect window for kids to make this leap, to stop just passively absorbing information and start actually applying it to real-world challenges.
So, what's the actual solution? Enter the Excel Academy CEO Skills and Self-Leadership Program. It's a highly dynamic, 16-week inquiry-led curriculum that uses project-based learning to equip 16 to 19-year-olds with the precise mindset to lead both themselves and others. This isn't a passive lecture series. It's an active, engaging process where the students take the wheel. It's a bold, forward-thinking program specifically designed to prepare your teen not just for their next round of exams, but for life, for the workplace, and ultimately for their legacy.
I absolutely love how the founder, Tirza Elise, captures the empathetic heart of this curriculum. She says it's not about becoming a CEO in a suit and tie, which is so true. It's not about forcing your 16-year-old into some stiff corporate mold. It's really about self-discovery. It's about helping them uncover the kind of leader they already are, naturally. Whether they're quiet and deeply introspective or loud and super charismatic, this program empowers them to take total responsibility for their unique purpose.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1. Choose your project strand.
Because no two teenagers are exactly alike, the journey is heavily personalized right from day one. They get to choose from 3 distinct project strands to really spark their specific passion. First up is personal leadership, which is all about learning to lead yourself first, focusing heavily on self-discovery and even overcoming anxiety. Second, we have community innovation, for those teens fired up about social change and real civic engagement in their local area. And third is business impact, which dives into real-world enterprise and entrepreneurship. So whatever actually drives them, there is a dedicated path for it.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, the 4 zones of learning.
We're going to move through this next part because I really want you to experience the dynamic 16-week framework that brings all this to life. This incredibly structured roadmap perfectly mirrors the natural process of innovation. Over 16 weeks, they move through 4 distinct leadership zones: discover, design, develop, and deliver. Each zone spans exactly 4 weeks and carefully builds on the last, taking them from internal self-awareness all the way to a highly confident public presentation.
So it all kicks off in Zone 1, Discover. The first 4 weeks are entirely focused on identity. Before you can lead a project, you absolutely have to know yourself. So this phase is all about deep self-reflection. They're asking those huge, essential questions. Who am I? What genuinely matters to me? And what kind of leader do I actually want to be?
But it's not just philosophical fluff. They're actively setting milestones and laying down the critical groundwork to become the CEO of their own life. They complete a comprehensive leadership audit. They physically map out their identity and core strengths, and they draft a rock-solid vision statement. Plus, they define SMART goals. Goals that are actually specific, measurable, and achievable. By the end of week 4, they know exactly what they want to achieve and, crucially, why.
Once they've got that crystal clear, it's time for Zone 2, Design. This is where that internal vision officially transforms into a tangible strategic plan. They start asking, okay, how will I actually solve this problem and create meaningful change?
This is where they pick up highly sought-after real-world project management skills. They map out root causes using a fishbone diagram, which is a brilliant visual way to break down complex challenges.
They build out a theory of change, create a meticulous step-by-step action plan, and they even get to design a visual brand identity and avatar for their project. They really get into the weeds of understanding exactly who their target audience is.
Now we hit the exciting, kind of messy middle in Zone 3, Develop. Because let's face it, a plan is literally just potential until you actually take action. Spanning weeks 9 through 12, this is where true leadership is put to the test in real time.
Your team is going to step right out of their comfort zone. They launch their action plan into the real world, run pilot tests, and actively gather community feedback. And here's the best part. When things don't go perfectly, and you know they won't, they learn to troubleshoot and adapt their strategy on the fly. Practicing that kind of real-time pivot, that builds incredible lifelong resilience.
Finally, all of this intense, hard work culminates in Zone 4, Deliver. Weeks 13 to 16 are so incredibly exciting. It's all about finalizing the project, reflecting on the journey, and really asking, how do I lead, deliver, and reflect on the impact I've actually made?
This is that intensely proud moment. They stand up and confidently pitch their vision to the room, proving they can communicate with real purpose and poise. They craft a compelling storytelling pitch. They write a strategic impact report to synthesize their learnings, and they present at a final showcase. Plus, they map out a one-year future roadmap, so this momentum doesn't just stop when the 16 weeks are over.
Which brings us to Section 3, Measuring Real Growth.
Now, you might be wondering, how do we actually measure success if we aren't relying on traditional tests? Well, the entire curriculum maps flawlessly onto the highly respected International Baccalaureate career-related program standards. The core skills they're learning perfectly align with IBCP components, like personal and professional skills, service learning, and the reflective project. So yes, there is a deeply robust academic foundation here, but it's focused entirely on authentic growth rather than just rote memorization. Instead of arbitrary numbers or grades, students use a reflective rubric to track their own growth. They look at where they are on an assessment journey, moving from emerging, where they're just starting to explore a skill, to secure, where they're becoming confident, all the way up to true mastery. This continuous habit of self-reflection is exactly what builds genuine, lifelong self-awareness and accountability.
All right, let's look at Section 4, Building a Lifelong Legacy.
So, what happens after the 16 weeks are up? Well, graduation absolutely isn't an ending. It actually unlocks an invitation to the exclusive Rise Founders Network. This is a game changer. It ensures they stay connected to a global community of young changemakers for life. We're talking ongoing alumni support, powerful mentorship, and a network that truly helps them build a lasting legacy. It's so much more than just a typical summer program.
16. That is the exact number of weeks it takes to completely transform a student into a visionary problem solver, perfectly equipped for the future. Just 16 weeks to move from discovering exactly who they are to designing a brilliant solution, developing it in the real world, and delivering a powerful, room-commanding pitch. They quite literally learn to lead themselves. I want to leave you with this final, really important thought. Summer 2026 is fast approaching. The world is out there, and it is waiting for leaders exactly like them. So are you ready to help them take that incredible, transformative first step? What legacy will your child begin building? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope you found this breakdown as inspiring as I do.